Welcome to episode 139 of the Campus Comics Cast, the official podcast of Buddy Monster Comics in Murfreesboro, Illinois. You have with you not the three jokers, though some people might argue that, but rather you have Scott Reed,
Mike Atchison,
and Chad Schubert.
And of course, the three jokers comment will make more sense when we talk about Batman, but we're going to start this We're going to start this episode. You know, it's a comic book thing.
That's right.
Everything
should be an issue,
issues, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we shouldn't worry about that. I've heard that. Yeah, that's an interchangeable term, episodes and issues.
Yeah, and if you can get a comic book series to get to 139 issues, then you should be proud of that 139 issues. But anyway, this is the podcast for Muddy Monster Comics, located at 1422 Walnut Street in Murfreesboro, Illinois. And we're just going to dive right back in where we left off from the last episode with some San Diego Comic-Con news. So the next thing I think on the list is Keanu Reeves' Berserker anime, confirmed for 2 seasons on Netflix. So I'm just going to say Matt Kent is absolutely killing it right now. He has got so many irons in the fire he's got the Berserker anime, he's got the Flux House at Dark Horse. Bang is also a Netflix movie with Idris Elba. I mean, he is just got all of his stuff is making it into some medium or another. Though I really expected Berserker to be a live action, not anime. Right. That's kind of like my big surprise here, but I'm definitely going to check this out.
I know. I was really hoping that my issue 1 first print is going to skyrocket with a big budget blockbuster movie.
Yeah, I was hoping my graded copies of number 1 would do the same, but no, apparently that's not going to happen. So
I just want to say that I'm happy to see Vandal Savage make it to this level of notoriety.
I'm not going to disagree with you there. So, all right. Anything else to say about Berserker?
No. I mean, it's a good. I mean, we reviewed the first couple of issues, I believe.
Just the first one, I think.
Just first issue a couple months ago, a few months ago.
Have you read any other ones?
No, I haven't. No,
haven't I?
Me neither.
Okay,
yeah, I'm gonna wait and maybe read it digitally or buy it in some other way.
All right, Batman and Spawn are crossing over again. So it looks like Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane are getting together, though it was Todd McFarlane and Frank Miller the first time. So I don't know. Will you read this, Mike?
Yeah, I would read it. I think that Spawn's not something I was able to digest that we reviewed or re-reviewed or went back and did a sort of a, pull out the relic of Spawn number 1 on its anniversary. And I was like, what the heck is this? But it was for a 70s guy, it was way too 90s. And, but I think, combined with Batman, it might be more palatable for me and understandable. And I would definitely would read it.
Well, I'll do a little edit there. Capullo's drawing.
That helps.
Not Jim Lee. So Greg Capullo, who's done both Spawn and Batman, is going to be doing the art side of things. And so I think what other choice would there be, I guess, at this point for Todd McFarlane to write Batman with? I mean,
yeah, Capullo just is. I mean, he has been the guy who follows up lots of other artists and is kind of can mimic their style or at least bring something similar to the table. And yeah, Capullo's been working with McFarlane for a long time now. Yeah.
Honestly, McFarlane himself, I mean, he's still a young guy. He's still got the talent. He just doesn't really, I guess maybe doesn't have the time, but I'm surprised he doesn't maybe do a little bit more art.
He does like the variant covers and stuff for books now, but I guess he's still writing.
Yeah, he's just in retirement mode.
Yeah. He's at least co-writing all the Spawn books at any point in time, right?
And there's what, 2 or 3 Spawn books every month. I mean, for a long time it was only 1 book a month, and now he's back up to 2 or 3. So he's keeping kind of busy. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely pick it up as well. So I don't know. Do you want to talk about Star Wars Andor?
I'm excited for Star Wars Andor. I didn't think I was gonna be until that last trailer dropped, and I was just like, I'm in. I don't know why I thought I wasn't gonna be, but I am.
I am excited for this series because Rogue One is my favorite Star Wars movie.
Oh yeah,
it is. It is now the Star Wars movie that all other Star Wars movies are judged by.
Yeah,
and it is my absolute favorite. I mean, even knocking Empire Strikes Back out of the top spot.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, with bringing in Sal Guerrera, bringing in Mon Mothma, like you're really kind of building that back end of the Rebel Alliance during that time in a way that I didn't expect it to do.
And we shouldn't have. I mean, one thing that's gonna be nice about this is there probably won't be a Skywalker in the entire series. Right. You know,
unless they throw Vader in at some point in time.
Well, that's
for fun. Like that would be the only Skywalker you'd really run across.
And that was, before everybody knew it was the Skywalker, right? Yeah. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I guess the only thing is we know that Andor is going to survive at the end. So no matter what peril he's in, we know he'll still be there at the end of the.
We've already seen him die. We can't see him die again.
Otherwise, they got a lot of explaining to do.
That's right.
I have not watched the Shazam! Fury of the Gods trailer yet. Did anybody else actually sit down to watch it?
Oh, I don't think I did.
Okay, I did not. So okay, this first Shazam movie was fine. I'm not screaming for another one, but I'm absolutely gonna go see this one whenever it comes out. So
yeah, the first one I thought was. I mean, there was only one thing I didn't like about it, and I wasn't ready for them to expand out into the
entire
Jeff
Marvel
Johns version of the character. I like the original CC Beck. You got Captain Marvel, aka Shazam. You've got Captain Marvel Jr., which is Freddie Freeman, and then you've got Mary Marvel, which is Mary Batson, his sister. But then in the Johns run some years ago, it was expanded out to all of these. He was a foster child and lived in a foster family, and they all basically got the same powers. Some of them the powers were accentuated, by one of the mythological gods or another. And that's cool, but it's not quite. And what's the guy's name that played Savannah? Not Savannah, but yes, Dr. Savannah in the original or the first one. He also played in the King's Service. He made a fantastic
Mark
Savannah.
Strong.
Mark Strong,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He plays bad guys pretty well. Plays good guys somewhat well too. But if you remember in the King's Service, he was great in it too. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to this, but probably more so Black Adam, which I'm sure we'll cover here eventually.
Yep. Chad, you want to add anything about Shazam! Fury of the Gods?
No, I'm good. I'm not excited, but I'll watch it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it was one of only 2 movies that DC talked about, right, at San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah.
I wish. Yeah, I mean that's one of the benefits of being a '70s kid is Shazam was one of those wish fulfillment type heroes where you just said a word and you turned into the hero. And oh man, I have a lot of fond memories of reading those books when I was a kid. That's the part I think is the most appealing about seeing it come to the big screen.
So some actual comic book news. Extreme X-Men returns to Marvel Comics with original creative team, which was Chris Claremont as the writer, and I don't remember who actually was the artist on it. I didn't read this back when it was coming out. The X-Men, as far as in Marvel, I kind of jumped the shark, and they were just everywhere at that point. Claremont had kind of lost control of the actual guy telling the stories, and it became more about putting out a lot of content as that whole 90s issue. But it I don't know if I'll pick this up or not. It's kind of hard to get too terribly excited about it because there's already plenty of X-Men stuff out there now. So I don't know. Anybody else got to pick it up?
I think the art looks great. I don't know if I'll pick it up, but the art looks great.
Salvador LaRocca is the artist who was on it and is on it again.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad somebody can click a link because I didn't.
That's my specialty.
It's a gift I have. All right, and the second movie, The Rock as Black Adam. We should say Dwayne Johnson as Black Adam. And I know, Atchison, I know you're more excited about the Justice Society in this than you are about Dwayne Johnson, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's, I mean, well, Dr. Fate, which is,
Pierce
I shouldn't
Brosnan.
even, yes, Pierce Brosnan. I think that's a good casting there. I'm not sure about who's playing Hawkman, but the visuals, I've said before that Hawkman's one of the most visually appealing heroes in comics are and on the screen. And then Cyclone, which is an interesting pick because that's a legacy character that descended from the original Red Tornado. And then you have Atom Smasher, who was originally named Nuklon, who is also a legacy character from the 80s Infinity Incorporated, the sort of the godson of the original Al Pratt Atom. So I think that makes it fun because at some point, there were really only like 2 or 3 appearances of Black Adam in the Golden Age. And
I thought there was only one appearance
maybe
of Black
only
Adam
one,
in the Golden Age.
Maybe only one. You're right.
And his second appearance was in Shazam 28.
Yeah.
I think.
I think the first one was in like 1944, 45, and it just went. But you want to talk about? We talked about Jeff Johns last episode a little bit. You can't understate how much Johns did for that franchise in the early 2000s with the JSA. I mean, he brought in these, and legacy characters are a favorite of mine, and several people, I think. But he really had a great way of showing the familial ties between these different generations of heroes, because obviously the original ones were from the 40s, even though if they may have had some sort of power or magic that kept them long lived. But they had sons and daughters and grandsons and granddaughters and stuff, and they were all like coming up in the same. It's like if you're growing up in a household with a hero, so that makes it really cool. So not to wax their car too much, I'm looking forward to it.
And we get a release date, October 21st. So I think we probably knew that already, but
yeah,
it's there on the screen, so I'll read it off. October 21st. They didn't have a release date for Shazam, did they?
I
don't think so. No.
And I think it'll be next year. I don't think it's this year, right? So
yeah, it's next year. I think, yeah.
Okay, House of Dragons. Anybody watch House of Dragons last night on
I did. And my wife and I, at 7 minutes until before 8 or 9 or whatever, we're like, what the hell? It's not showing up. Where's that at? Where's it at? And then finally I look on the phone. It says 7 minutes till it's, because it was triggered at, I think, 9 p.m. Eastern.
Yep.
And
it probably was it going to be shown on HBO and then on HBO Max, or were you watching it on HBO?
I was on Max.
Okay.
So I don't know what about that was.
So I think they probably didn't let it start until after it had finished on at least that's the way I think it was with Game of Thrones, is you couldn't even start watching it until after it finished on regular HBO. So
whenever I didn't even have Max back when it was on HBO. Any thoughts on it? Did you watch it?
I did not watch it. Did not realize it was coming out yet. Game of Thrones is completely off of my radar at this point. So yeah, no. And I'm sure I will watch at least the first episode at some point. But if it doesn't doesn't blow me away, I may not even finish it. Of course, I don't know. I'm the kind of person, I watch one episode, then I'm pretty much committed to watching the whole thing at some point. But it's like I'm gonna get back
against
to
your better judgment.
Yeah, I'm gonna get back to Paper Girls at some point. But man, that first episode was just so bad that it's like I'm in no rush to get back to it. So I guess we'll see how this goes.
What about you, Shad? Did you watch it?
No, I don't do the Game of Thrones.
Oh, we talked about that before. That's right. Well, I did watch it, and I'll give you a non-spoilery review. It's okay. So when you read the books, which I did before the very, I read as much of the books. Sorry,
I said before it was cool.
Well, yes, exactly. But I read the book before the show.
Have you read that last book yet? Oh,
no,
wait.
I have not. But the first book, it was probably 3 books before the show started, and then you had started having the overlap, and it really made it hard to keep track of what was canon, but it was pretty close. But when you read the books, the TV show did such a good job of personifying the characters in the books that I immediately was attached. I mean, immediately. The show was just that good. With House of Dragon, you don't have that benefit, and you're having to learn about these characters from whole cloth or from the show itself, which takes longer. So far, it doesn't have the hook. I don't want to scare you off, Scott, but the hook wasn't there for me. It's 172 years prior to the events in Game of Thrones. So it centers around the Targaryen dynasty. Of course, everybody and their sister and brother has super blonde hair, which is kind of weird, but I'm like, you guys are some inbred son of guns. But it had some good stuff in it. And I'll keep watching it. But yeah, that's
well, I mean, the Game of Thrones matured up some of the storytelling, or I guess aged up most of the characters, because Daenerys was 13 whenever she was sold to if I remember right from the book. So you have to remember that all that stuff, she's like 13 or 15, all that stuff is happening to a 13 or 15-year-old girl, not an obvious woman. Even like I can't even remember the North.
The White Walk.
The clan
wall,
of the North. You
mean the Starks?
Jon Snow. Yeah,
Starks.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean they were all aged up quite a bit as well from the books. At least I think they are. And then they hinted at that. Daenerys Targaryen thought she was going to be married to her brother because that's the way they used to do it. So they even talked about that in the series. So.
Oh yeah, that wasn't an issue in the books or the movies. Not with the Lannisters and not with some of the other families. I mean, the very first book had the sister and brother team of Cersei and Jaime. Yeah.
So there you go.
We'll keep it G-rated. They were just playing tiddlywinks.
And moving on to we have Batman cars. It's what it looks like to me.
Oh jeez.
Yeah, it looks like it's just cars done in with the Batmobile. I mean, are you getting any vibe from that any different?
Nope. That's
the only way I would watch this is with my nephew. He's 5 and he would love it.
Yeah. There's a lot of Star Trek news here. I'm not a big Star Trek guy anymore. Anybody want to talk about the Star Trek stuff?
Yeah.
Let's just jump down here to Sandman because, that's actually already over, right?
Yeah.
we finished that. Actually, I take that back. I haven't watched the extra episode.
Episode 11 yet?
Yeah, I have not watched that yet. So, but the first 10 are really, really solid. So, enjoyed that quite a bit. So
good. I'm glad you kept it spoiler free because I haven't even started.
You gotta watch it soon though, Mike, because Neil Gaiman has kind of put it out there that is a very expensive show, and in order for Netflix to renew it, they need a lot of viewers who finish it in order to get it going. Not just start it, but they need to see people make it all the way to the end in order to get renewed for season 2.
So I need to do my civic duty.
That's right.
And watch it soon.
And I guess they make it into like volume 3 or 4 of the Sandman. So I mean, it's not just like the first volume of Sandman. It's
first 2 volumes.
First 2 volumes? Are you sure?
I believe so. Yeah, because Dollhouse is volume 2, and that's really kind of where they wrap up the season.
But the whole thing, I thought it was the whole thing with the serial killers in volume 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that makes it easy for me because Shad, I was waiting to watch this until I could reread whatever volumes it was covering. So if it's only the first 2 volumes, that's just a couple days.
And actually, they pushed out on DC Infinite. They pushed out all of the issues it covers, so that if you wanted to read along, because they only had the first volume on there, and then when they released Sandman on Netflix, they said everything that's on Netflix is also now on DC Universe or whatever.
Oh,
Infinite.
okay, that's cool.
So that's a helpful guide, I guess.
Yeah, I still need to finish Sandman comics. I can't remember. I made it to like volume 7 or 8. I'm close. I just never got around to finishing it. But yeah. What's next?
I know you'll probably breeze by it, but I want to stop you at AMC. Is releasing a new rendition of Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire, with a Vampire, and I'm an acolyte of Anne Rice's work from way back, and I will watch this, and I will relish it even if it's bad, because even the first, with the Tom Cruise Lestat, and that wasn't great, and then then you had a Vampire Lestat, and then you had Queen of the Damned, which was just horrible with Aaliyah. She visually was great as the character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The little weak on the storytelling side, though.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the stories then, Shad?
Yeah, just I mean, I'm the movies and just the general concept. I haven't read the books, but I'm definitely a fan, and will definitely be tuning into the show.
Yep.
So apparently, Dwayne Johnson was booed for his response to a question at San Diego. He was asked who would win a fight between Black Adam and Superman, and his response was, "It would probably depend on who is playing Superman."
Ouch.
But I think Dwayne Johnson is one of those guys who has written into most of his contracts that he doesn't lose any fights.
Does he really?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, so just look that up. But I think that's that'd be tough.
That's awesome.
To be in a movie with. I think that created some problems, because maybe it's like, now that I'm Vin Diesel maybe has a similar contract or clause written into some of his contracts, like when they're in Fast and Furious together, that created some problems. But let's just move on from that. We did get a new poster for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantum Mania. I am excited to see that this is we're getting more from this. I really enjoyed both of the Ant-Man and Wasp movies. So, though I just looked at it, and there's a third character there.
Yeah, isn't that? Is it
supposed to be Stature? I wonder. I'm gonna click. I closed the link, and now I've lost it. Now I've got to go back to it.
Well, the poster talks
plus Stature. Yeah, okay. And Kang's in the background. So yeah.
The first look. But that's okay. That's not the first look at Kang. I mean, he was in the
well, they'll argue that he was what did they call him? He wasn't Kang in that version of him wasn't Kang.
Like the one at the end, or
the
one who
actor?
lives, or
yeah, but it's the same actor. Yeah.
It's what, Jonathan Majors?
Yeah. So it's just kind of a little play on, but I'm actually surprised they're actually saying that it's Stature. So that's good. So
and Stature is
Scott Lang's daughter.
Okay, that's who I figured it probably
who has
was.
been recast for the third time.
Oh, so, no, really?
Different Cassie Lang in actress in every single one of them. So let's see. Oh, Marvel teases massive Avengers finale and Jonathan Hickman's next series. So shouldn't it be the X-Men's massive finale? Because isn't he back on X-Men? I thought.
Well, I think his next series is different than the Avengers thing. I think it's two separate headlines in one. Jason Aaron's finale.
There we go.
Jonathan Hickman's next series.
Next project. Okay. All right. Okay.
I wish his next series was the Legion of Superheroes. He wanted to write that, but
Hickman?
They picked Bendis over him. Yeah.
Oh wow. I would read that. Of course, I read Bendis's Legion too. So.
Yeah.
Oh, Mike.
I'm sorry. I almost didn't, whenever I was signing on, where you put your name, I almost put Larry Trainer. Would you have picked up on that?
No, not initially.
He's in the Doom Patrol, Negative Man.
Oh, okay.
I was feeling really negative about them. I was looking at my reviews and I'm like, wow, I am totally negative, man.
All right. She-Hulk and Black Panther will conclude Phase 4. So Phase 4 wraps up this year. Did you watch the first episode of She-Hulk?
Oh my God, it's out. That would be a no for me.
Yes.
I'm a no. Also.
Oh, okay.
Oh man.
Well, I'm gonna say I'll leave it at this. I'm a thumbs up on the first episode. We'll see how the second episode goes.
Good. My wife will love this. I can't wait. Oh my God, I might even go upstairs after this and go watch it.
All right, so now we're getting into a ton of Marvel news, so we're gonna rapid fire this. So, Daredevil Born Again, 18 episodes with Charlie Cox. I think this is what we've been waiting for, be part of Phase 5. So, anything to add?
I gotta watch the original Daredevil run before that happens. I gotta catch up.
Yeah.
I got through season 2, and I know season 3 got really good reviews. And I don't know where you find it. Is it on? It's
on Disney Plus.
Disney now. Okay.
Plus now. Yep. Okay. Blade, Mahershala Ali's MCU version gets a release date, and they don't have it here in the headline, but that's good.
November 3rd.
Okay, 2023, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, so next year, November.
Next year, yeah, right.
Yep.
All right, well, we don't need to talk about the She-Hulk trailer since that is out now. Secret Invasion next spring, so spring 2023. This
we
I thought
had that.
What's that?
We already had Secret Invasion with Peacemaker.
Oh, that was just Invasion. In Marvel,
okay.
Secret Invasion.
More secret, okay.
In DC, it's just Invasion, yeah.
Okay.
So. And then to wrap up Phase 5, we're getting Thunderbolts. I am not super stoked about what they're doing with Thunderbolts, and primarily it's because of Julia Louis-Dreyfus. I do not care for her as the Contessa. That's not my Contessa, I guess is how I'll phrase it. So she's a little too smart alecky and snotty, than what the actual Contessa was, because she was a real prim and proper, even though she was a butt-kicking secret agent. She was one of the good guys anyway. So, so I don't know. Thunderbolts. You guys have any particular affection for the Thunderbolts?
I don't know anything about the Thunderbolts.
I don't either.
Okay,
and I know all I know is that some people consider it their favorite Marvel series, Thunderbolts. Yep.
Well, the original Thunderbolts was this new superhero team, and it's pretty obvious. It's this new superhero team, and then when you get to like the end of the first big story arc, you find out they're actually all bad guys, pretending to be good guys that are led by Baron Zemo. So that's kind of the kicker behind it. It's almost like I shouldn't say it's like a Suicide Squad, because it's not like they'll die, but it's like they have this other motivation for doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Suicide Squad, they're good guys because
Baron Zemo is one of the better characters in Marvel, I think. He's a great villain.
Yeah, he's been good in the cinematic, that's for sure. So,
and I feel like Loki, he really got a chance to kind of shine and everything. Yeah. So that'll be good. I'm assuming they'll use him in this show, or in this. Is it a movie or a show?
It's gonna be a movie, and I don't know that they will, because I think they are setting the Contessa up to lead as opposed to Baron Zemo to lead. But
and is the Thunderbolts, does it have anything to do with General Ross, or is that
there was an iteration where the Red Hulk was a member of the Thunderbolts, but that is much later, if I remember correctly. It was like
I didn't know that was because of him is what the name came from, is Thunderbolts Ross, or is that just a coincidence?
Their first leader was Peter Cannon, Thunderbolt.
No, that's incorrect. I thought it was all Baron Zemo. Yeah. Yeah. Peter Cannon is neither a DC or a Marvel character.
No, he's Charlton.
Charlton. Yeah, because he was for Ozymandias, right?
Right. He was the inspiration for Ozymandias in Watchmen.
So he has nothing to do with the Thunderbolts. Have nothing to do with Thunderbolt Ross. No. Okay. Not that I remember. No, I'm not a big. I haven't read a lot of Thunderbolts either. Gotcha. So I could be completely overlooking something, but yeah, I think that's just a coincidence. I was like, he just died. I mean, the character did. William Hurt died. William Hurt. Yeah, the actor. Mm-hmm. So we are getting a fourth Captain America movie with Anthony Mackie. I almost said Howard Mackie, because he's a comic book guy. But Anthony Mackie as the title character.
Mm-hmm.
So as playing Captain America, 2024. So we're a little bit off on for that one occurs. But man, I mean, Marvel laid it out there.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, we got multiple years of what's going on. I think that's a lot for like. It seems like it should be like 6 or 7 years, but it's like what, all in like 3 years.
Yeah.
Oh,
they got their stuff together. No wonder DC's trying to be like them.
Yeah, now they're scrambling to play catch up. Now we're post COVID, and now they feel like they can lay some stuff out there.
Yeah.
So we already talked about Ant-Man and Wasp. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 actually had a trailer, which apparently you can't see any place right now. That was shown.
I'm guessing we get that on either D23 or the Disney Investors Day. We'll get the Quantumanium trailer and the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 trailer.
Or maybe I think there's like supposed to be like a holiday special coming with the Guardians in it, so maybe we'll even get it right around that time as well.
Yeah.
They talk about the Disney Plus series Echo, Loki season 2, Ironheart, and Agatha. I am most excited for Echo from that list. Shad, which one of those you'd be most excited for?
I don't know why I thought you were gonna say Agatha. I thought when you said, I was like, that's a weird thing to be excited about. Ironheart. I think because I think that's gonna, and we get that little glimpse of it in that Wakanda trailer, in the Black Panther 2 trailer, and so I'm really excited for Ironheart.
Okay, Mike, what about you?
I would be the most anxious to see Agatha's series, the Agatha Harkness. I think she's that actress. I forget her name, but she was really good in WandaVision, and she's a good character in the comics, even though they're very much different.
And I'm trying to pull her name from memory, and it's failing. Catherine Hahn.
Yep, that's it.
Sounds,
Good job.
My memory didn't actually fail me for once. Okay.
I wonder if we'll get Wanda at some point. If that'll be the return of Wanda. We were talking about that last episode about where would Wanda show back up, and that would be obviously the ideal place. But
and it could even just be in a flashback though. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. MCU Phase 6 will begin with the Fantastic Four and end with the Avengers Kang Dynasty. So we're going to have Kang through several phases. We're currently in Phase 4, right? So we got the first initial glimpse of him, and then 5 and 6. So he's going to be our main bad guy here for a while. And then we'll have Avengers the Kang Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars. And of course, that's probably going to be Secret Wars, the Jonathan Hickman story, not the giant 12-issue series back from the 80s. So I think we talked about Black Panther Wakanda Forever on quite a bit, but man, that just looks so good.
Oh yeah.
And after Thor, this better get the bad taste out of my mouth for Marvel movies. So
this is definitely going to be best Marvel movie of the year, I think. If it
that's a low bar.
The way, I mean, I know it doesn't have a high bar, but maybe even best comic book movie. I think it could be better than the Batman, potentially. So
I think it'll definitely. I'm certain I will enjoy it more. But again, the Batman wasn't written for the people sitting in the theater. It was written for the Oscars, So this is probably written for the people in the theaters. But I saw an article recently where it's like one of the movie companies, and it was like Regal Cinemas just filed for bankruptcy, but they're basically saying that the movie theaters are going to be hurting until this movie comes out. And this comes out, after Black Adam. So they didn't even think Black Adam was going to save the theaters. It's going to be Wakanda Forever that's going to be the one to save theaters.
That's November? Is that what this one is?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's because I think Black Adam was like October 21st. Okay. This one was November something, if I remember right. So, and hey, that's the bottom of the page.
That is.
Yeah, so I think we made it. So, and didn't take too terribly long. I don't know. You got any final thoughts? Marvel absolutely won San Diego Comic-Con news.
Yeah.
And continuing, I mean, DC not only didn't maintain, they nosedived after that in the following weeks of canceling everything that was a potential. So Marvel definitely is a winner. Not a lot of like indie projects that are really big either. No like real big Image properties that are going out there crazy or anything.
I mean, they did say. I mean, Spawn is still supposed to be making another movie, and there was nothing added about that. So, but I don't know. It may have just been lost. I mean, in the Marvel news too, because it just so dominated the information coming out of that. So, Wakanda Forever is still what I'm most excited about out of all of this. Shad, what about you?
I would agree with that for certain. I mean, granted, we will see, if we were able to see more, if we were able to see the Quantum Medium trailer, we were able to see, something else outside of that, I would maybe lean somewhere differently, but definitely Wakanda Forever.
Mike, you got any changes like you're most excited for?
Well, it's hard not to contradict oneself when you talk about these things weeks apart, but I still think Black Adam's something I'm looking the most forward to. Although the Black Panther movie, Wakanda Forever, is right up there with it, especially because of Namor being in it. Although I was a little bit put off by hearing that it's not really Atlantis in the movies that Namor's from. It's some other Aztecian ocean, race or nation. So,
well, I don't remember if I said this on a podcast or not, but if I'd have been a betting person, whenever people started talking about Namor, I bet against Namor ever making it to a movie, because it's going to be viewed as Marvel was copying DC because Aquaman got to the theaters first. So
the one time out of 50 that DC beats Marvel to the punch, and they're all skittish about it. For God's sake, every time you turn around, there was something that Marvel does, and you're like, DC did it first in the comics, but didn't do it in the theaters first.
But this is the one time that Marvel was actually first in the comics, the Atlantean character, and I think they're steering away from that. Now, that being said, having seen what they are doing with the character, I think they are staying true to the roots of the character, even though they're kind of changing him geographically. I assume they're going to say that the Gulf of Mexico was at one time an above ground, and then it collapsed in. So that's just where what would be Atlantis is the remains of the Aztec or one of the Central American civilizations. It gives them a chance to culturally expand, their actor base, and do it in a sense that I think makes sense and can fit well into a storyline. And as long as the actor pulls it off, they even, as far as I know, they even put wings on his ankles. So hey, and he's got the little blue skivvies. So what?
That part's all good. That part's all good. It's just that to me that's a sign that Marvel's just a little bit too comfortable in the top position now, that they can't, based on what your theory was, that they can't do anything similar to what DC did without being worried about that it's copying.
Well, even as crappy as a movie as Aquaman was, just the fact that it has Atlantis in it, they can't. It kind of. This gives them like a little bit more. This gives them a little bit more. It's like, okay, we've got our own thing, and we can now have. We don't have Atlantis play sets that we're selling toys for. We've got. I can't remember what the name.
All you have to do is do it better. Otherwise, DC could never do Darkseid. Otherwise, DC could never do the New Gods. Otherwise, DC could never do all of those concepts without being accused. And they would be anyway. They would still be accused of it.
Oh, yeah.
Thanos was a knockoff of Darkseid.
Yep.
Okay, that's the DC fanboy.
There you go. Well, hey, speaking of DC, why don't we talk about Batman 125?
What happened there?
What is that? Know.
What happened?
It's a comic book. Written by Chip Zdarsky, right? Art by, I forgot who the artist was.
The art by Jorge Jimenez.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. So, real quick, like it, hate it, love it, Shad.
Like it.
Like it, Mike. Love it. Okay, so you need to say it, Mike, because nobody can see you on our audio. Nobody can see you on your audio podcast.
I'm counting on you to do that. Okay, so it's not perfect. It's not Zdarsky's best work, but Zdarsky's mediocre work is really good. So I would say this is his mediocre work, but it's an outstanding take on Batman, I think.
Wow, this is the best Batman comic book I've read in years. Years.
Good to hear.
Okay.
Good to hear.
So, all right. So we're short on time. We need to fly through this. I got so much I want to talk about in this book, but we also still have to cover Radiant Black, right? So here we go. I'm just going to fly through it, and we'll talk about it. So we start with a dream sequence. It's nice to see Alfred in a Batman comic book again, right? We have on a nice full splash page in this dream sequence of the three Jokers, which seems to have been abandoned by DC, but now it's back. Bruce wakes up, feels the need to call Selina Kyle. We see that Selina has moved on in her relationship from Bruce. All right. Bruce is still, broke because his money's all been stolen. Now there's somebody going around town killing everybody who inherited or won all their millions of dollars. All right. So a friend, which I don't think this character existed previous to this story, just to die, is killed. Right. Of course, Bruce then learns that basically it's Oswald Cobblepot that is behind it. So we have a very vindictive version of the Penguin. Tim Drake is basically acting as a sidekick, which I guess is true to the DCU because I guess Damian Robin is out to kind of doing his own thing. Bruce gets invited to this gala. The Penguin, quote unquote, the Penguin makes an appearance. He's going to gas everybody, but fortunately Bruce was on to the idea because this is something that the Penguin would do before. We instead find out that it's not actually the Penguin, but Clayface, but it's still the Penguin because the Penguin is putting Clayface up to this. So Batman, I don't know if it's a bluff or not, convinces Clayface that if he doesn't save the people that are about ready to die, that he will basically turn him into an explosive and kill him. So Clayface actually saves most of the crowd, but in the process, one of the Penguin's goons shoots Tim Drake we don't know if it's a deadly wound, but it is actually, he's very, very critical. Takes him to the hospital. Also in the hospital, we see that the Penguin is there, and to kind of his coup de grace, he takes cyanide so that when a nurse walks in, thinks that it is Batman is responsible for the death of the Penguin. Now that seems pretty flimsy storytelling element there. And then we jump back to the Batcave where dropping in, we have this new character, which we don't know if it's a hero, villain, or neither, named Failsafe. And then we get a really, really nice backup story with Selina Kyle. What is going to happen to the Iceberg Lounge now that the Penguin is dead? I really like this executor character that I guess is introduced in this story, who basically is responsible for executing Cobblepot's will. And as part of it, Cobblepot had set aside some money to make for sure that the 10 people mentioned in his will are able to be contacted. So Selina gets some cash, and we learned that Cobblepot was basically the DC Universe's version of the Vulture, and that he has apparently 10 children that he has fathered over the course of the years, who are the 10 that are going to potentially inherit the Iceberg Lounge. All right. Trying to go fast. Did I miss any super key points?
No, that was a good concise. Issue? No, that was a good concise summary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, this is the best Batman comic book I've read in a long time. I even like this better than the Tom King stuff.
Yeah, I would say that it was the pacing was better than Tom King's. Tom King's was really verbose, and there were some issues where I'm like, oh my God, get to it anyway. I won't disagree. This is the best I've read probably in several years. But again, I really kind of had to consciously temper my spirits because that's what you expect from Zdarsky. It may not be his best stuff, but I would tend to agree. You've seen my thumbs up was teetering there about at 80-90%. It's not perfect. I mean, it's got a lot of repetitive tropes. I mean, another Robin getting shot, Tim Drake getting shot, and it's an artery shot, which he would have died in minutes in real life. So okay, fine. But seeing Tim Drake as Robin again was good. The supportive sidekick and not the little
hey now.
Damien is okay.
Podcast.
Little turd. Okay. Just a word. But even though I like Damien, I didn't like him. He's never good at teaming with his dad as Robin. So I liked the build up. I liked the dream sequence. That's at first I'm like, oh my gosh, Alfred's back. Is this like going back in time? Is it like
Well, it
something
does say
reboot?
another time. It does say another time, very first thing on the first page.
It does, yeah. It does throw you off a bit, but it turns out to be a dream. I'm a little dubious about the idea that Bruce Wayne can actually control what he dreams. He can say, yeah, I only dream when I want to help my subconscious solve a crime. I'm like, really? That sounds pretty superhero power to me, but it's okay.
It's a meditation thing. It's
sure,
a Zen kind of control of dream journaling, and I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's again going back to suspending disbelief.
Right.
Yeah, I like the idea that, again, it's always a perfect situation where you use Clayface if you want to throw the reader off with someone doing you don't expect them to do. Oh my God, it was Clayface, you know.
I'm just going to say, while we're on that topic, it's nice to see a Batman story where you don't have 1,500 new characters introduced, and we're going back to using his existing rogues gallery. Other than one, we get one new character, you know, here in this.
One of the best rogues galleries in comics. You don't need to introduce 5 of them in 6 months like Tynan did. I know that was probably by editorial edict, but again, we'll get to that character that we were going to talk about in the backup story. But I love that this is a the more human Batman, the more human than God Batman. Then the Bat God element has been around for years, where he was just in completely unbeatable. This Batman needs to take a 2-minute power nap, before he talks to Oracle.
And he talks about being Batman being the job, as opposed to, there are people out there that argue Batman is the real personality and Bruce Wayne is not. And so here Zdarsky's making it pretty clear that being Batman is the job, as opposed to
he's an all consumed by his job person, but it's still the job.
But but the public Bruce Wayne is not the real Bruce Wayne either, so
no.
All right.
That's all I got really, except for the backup story. So go ahead.
Tough question for you here. Page 2, Selina's new squeeze Valmont. Is that a new character?
It's probably in the Joel Jones series. I haven't read that since issue 1, but I do know that she did move on with whatever flavor of the week or whatever Valmont is. But it is funny that he's talking to her and Valmont comes in like the knucklehead and said, "Hey, I'm going out for coffee, sweetheart. What do you want?" And Bruce is like, "Hey, I gotta go then." Oops. I did like that, yeah. And Catwoman's like, "Jesus, I'm on the phone."
I do. Just the fact that Zdarsky, he has the classic rogues gallery, but he does even bring in characters from the Tynion run with was not the designer, but was it the designer? Yeah, the designer, right?
The Underbroker.
Yeah, the Underbroker. Thank you. Yeah, brought those characters in, so he's honoring.
That's into the Catwoman.
Yeah, he hasn't reset anything. Bruce is not all of a sudden rich again. He's just honoring everything that came before with the character and trying to do with it what he can. Chad, what are some of your thoughts?
I do really like that it's a good jumping on point. It does seem like you can. I haven't read Batman. I don't know if I've ever read Batman regularly, like monthly period. So reading this, it felt like, okay, I'm a little behind. I don't really understand the 3 Jokers, but I remember there being something with that Johns did with 3 Jokers. So is that thing? I kind of
that goes all the way back to New 52. The 3.
Oh, is that what that is? Okay. And then
it was Rebirth, Scott, in 2016.
No, it was at the end of New 52 when Batman gets the Mobius chair in the Dark Side War type story, and he says, "Who is the?" So he wants to learn something.
Okay, so it was towards the tail end of the New 52.
It was like issue 50 of New 52, absolutely at the end. But so like, who's the Joker? And he learns there are
Nerd
3.
fight.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, this is the one thing that I actually know. So
Okay.
He's like, I know this thing.
I know this one thing. That's all I know, and I'm gonna stand on that hill till I die.
I remember hearing that Bruce had lost his money, so that made sense. But yeah, nothing was too like deep cut that I couldn't follow along with the main story. And boy, was it a fast-paced story. It was like, holy cow, we could have spent a little bit more time on kind of bridging this gap. When it's revealed that Penguin is actually Clayface at the gala. He's automatically convinced that he's going to help Bruce, and you don't even, they're like, I could have maybe used another panel to kind of bridge this gap, convincing him that I better follow along because he's going to blow me up. But like, it was just all of a sudden now he's this like blanket that's going to cover all the people.
Well, but in the detective run, for a while, Clayface was part of the Bat family.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was early on in Reboot, and that again goes back to Tynion.
Yeah.
As part of that run, Clayface was one of the good guys.
He was like a reluctant hero or an anti-hero.
Okay. Huh.
And they turned him into something very manipulatable. I don't know.
Yeah. Easy to be manipulated.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that's to character pretty well. Is that like, all it takes is, hey, I'm going to blow you up. He's like, okay, I'll save the day.
Yeah, right.
No problem.
He was easily scared into that. Batman had implanted something into him at some point that he could blow him up, and he what? Okay.
Right.
But he had been manipulated by the Penguin also.
Sure, yeah.
Right.
I mean, and we're talking about him being an anti, even before Tynan's run in Detective, he was part of the Mud Pack, which was I know, it's a true thing. Shad's look like, are you pulling my leg again? So look up the Mud Pack. He was sort of somewhat of a good guy there too. But,
okay.
Gray areas.
I didn't like that the Penguin was just all of a sudden dead without any kind of fanfare, which I'm sure there's going to be a twist to that, of course.
And we all know he's coming back. Whenever somebody wants to use him in a story, he'll be dead for the Zdarsky run.
Yeah.
Or he staged it somehow, and he'll come back at the end of the Zdarsky run, at the end of the story. But
go ahead.
I was like, the weirdest part is just the time jump for me is that at the very end it says the Batcave now. Does that mean that? And then that's where we see the failsafe character. Is that implying that everything we see prior to those last 2 pages of the main story is not now? What does that mean?
No, it just means that Batman's not operating out of the Batcave now.
Oh,
he's operating out of because he lost his riches, he lost access to the Batcave.
So he doesn't have
some of this I'm putting together. Yeah, so it's just saying right now at the Batcave, you've got this it's shut down, but you've got this fail-safe big Ultron looking thing that pops up, and you don't know if it's good, bad, something Batman created or something that someone else put.
Yeah, and from reading a review, it at least the implication is that failsafe is something he had created and has forgotten about. And that it's started its failsafe protocol, I guess.
Right.
And all of that. But yeah, there's some. I didn't love that there were a couple of gaps I had to fill in on my own, but overall I thought it was a really good entry. Wasn't a lot that it was asking of the reader. I thought the writing was pretty base level. Everyone could understand what was going on. It wasn't a Grant Morrison type story level of coming into it,
Anything? So you talk about scenes that seem out of place. It's like the guy who shoots Tim Drake. I'm like, where did that guy come from? Tim Drake is standing there, and there's a whole crowd behind him, as he's trying to get the door, and then this gunman, who I guess we sort of see, I guess he's up there on the stage with Clayface Penguin, but he doesn't look the same size as any of those guys that are up there. So I feel like that's kind of like a failure in the artwork, not so much a failure in the storytelling. That kind of lost me. It's like, nobody had a gun prior to that, it's just like, now all of a sudden he's getting shot. It was just, there was a couple of moments like that where I was a little.
Well, it's just enough that I feel like there's a lot of pages for the backup story that if we would have given a couple of panels in between a couple of the panels we currently have, that maybe those pages could have been better off just to give this story the air to breathe a little bit. And that would be my only big complaint, was like, man, instead of 6 pages or whatever it was to the backup story, I could have used 6 pages to slow the pacing down just a little bit on the story if I were being picky.
Usually the backup story is like 8, and this was a 10-page backup.
10,
story.
okay, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, they didn't. I mean, I was just re-looking at this. Now, I don't agree necessarily that it threw me off. It didn't throw me off at all. It's pretty obvious. This was a henchman that was part of the takeover of the gala, and he had to be shown because a big part of the story was Tim Drake being shot.
Yeah.
So,
but usually they show that guy someplace before, so it makes sense. It's just one of those things. And I almost missed the Catwoman story. Because you get this failsafe shows up. Next, the good soldiers, and the art style changed, right? And I thought, well, this is a preview.
You thought it was a Snickers advertisement.
A Snickers advertisement or something like that. And I almost didn't turn the page. And I was like, oh, there's a title on page 2 of this story. It really should have been on page 1 because it almost skipped it.
I will tell you, Scott, the guy who shot Tim Drake, Tim does kick in the face in the page before and knocks a mask off of his face.
I didn't see
it. I
it.
saw that, but it didn't look like he was wearing even like the same colored jacket.
It's the same clothes and the same haircut, but you see him from the back side.
I looked at that, and
it's that top panel on the page before. Or the 2 pages before.
2 pages before where he gets shot. So 2 pages before where he gets shot. Let me go to where he gets shot. Okay.
So you're right. That's him.
Shot. 1, 2.
Same mohawk, red hair. Yeah. Just not
maybe
real.
Maybe 3 pages. Go
so
another page.
Go another page.
Top panel.
Okay. But yeah, so he's there.
It's a stretch. You gotta be doing some hardcore looking.
Yeah, but then when you go back to where Penguin's up on the stage, he's not there. So
no.
Where did he show up from? So yeah.
And the Batman, the cowl with the dress shirt is just like it's just waiting for an action figure. They're gonna make a statue of.
Oh, without a doubt. I thought that was great. I mean, you think about it. If you're in a hurry, if you're Batman and you're in a hurry, you got to protect your identity and you need your tools. So let's throw on the cowl. Let's throw off the jacket and put on the belt. And you're there. That's really all you need.
Yeah.
So any other thoughts on the main story?
Nope.
No. Just it was really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So the backup story also written by Zdarsky, artist Beline Ortega. That sound good to everybody? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I also really enjoyed this Catwoman story, and I love the Executor. Don't care so much for the Underbroker. He was well used in this story, but man, the Executor is awesome.
Yeah, he's an android. Yeah, he's the Executor or the Underbroker. I think that's a Tynan creation.
It is. Yeah.
Yep. And then the Executor is new, and I absolutely agree that he outshines his boss.
Yes. Because he's really
like
not
the ultimate paralegal.
Yeah, he's not a villain. It's there's a contract he's got, and he's going to make sure that the contract, and then whatever happens after that, he doesn't care. Right?
Yeah, there's no self gain here. Exactly. He's programmed and required to do certain things, and yeah.
I like this. I think it's going to be a cool backup story to continue with. It's the perfect kind of concept to just kind of check in with a couple of pages at the end of every issue.
Yeah.
My last comment about this is I am actually excited to read Batman again. I have just been reading it out of habit. Who was writing after Tynion?
Josh Williamson.
Okay, I have not read any of the Josh Williamson Batman yet, so I'm only up to Tynion. So that I've skipped all that. Started here with Zdarsky. It's like, so now I feel like I need to hurry up and get through the Williamson stuff, so that way I can start.
It wasn't very long. I bet he only did 6 issues. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can lean in and start really enjoying this Zdarsky stuff. But yeah, this is the most excited I've been to read Batman from this one issue Maybe short of like some Frank Miller year one stuff.
Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, there's just not. Yeah, this has been a long time since I've been this interested in what's coming up for Batman. So, any final comments, Mike, on this story?
I mean, no, Batman is so pervasive in comics culture, especially DC. He's the California economy for DC. He's what drives the company. But it gets taken for granted, like you said. You were reading out of habit, waiting for a good story. Now you can count on it because Zdarsky is writing, and Jimenez. It's weird how the writing, because I used to be kind of like, I'm not so sure I like Jimenez's style. It's too angular. Maybe it was the characters he was drawing. I don't know. Maybe in this he's inking his own work, but it's like Zdarsky's writing is elevating even Jimenez's work. So it's like a really good team.
Shad, final thoughts?
I'm in. I think I might read along. Like I said, I haven't really read a Batman title monthly, but I think I'll give this one a shot for a bit and hang on, and that way I had something to kind of talk with you guys about and check in with it.
I'm absolutely in for this first story arc. So my grade on this near mint 9 is 9.2. That's how much I really enjoyed this. I'm this may be one that if he sticks the landing, this may be a story that stays in my collection, so so it could go down, if it doesn't stick the landing, but right now I've not been this excited to read Batman in a while. So
I go 9.0 just because I was going to go 9.2, but I think mine is just a pacing issue because I'm not as familiar with regularly reading the character.
Mike?
And I'll see your 9.2. No, I'll call it and I'll leave it right there. I could go higher. I could go a grade lower, but it's just a lot of things are relative. With modern sensibilities, I think 9.2 is maybe even an underrating. I'd maybe go a little bit higher, but I'm just going to stick with the 9.2.
All right. Terrific. So because we haven't really talked about anything indie in a while, right? We decided we're going to talk about Radiant Black, and we're kind of getting a little short on time here, so we might be cutting this discussion a little bit shorter than the time that it deserves. But Shad, I think you're going to lead us through Radiant Black here.
I've got the just the little synopsises for each issue through Volume 1, which is issues 1 through 6. So we'll start with issue 1. It says, Nathan Burnett has just turned 30 and things aren't great. He's working and failing at 2 jobs. His credit card debt is piling up, and his only move is moving back home with his parents. But when Nathan discovers and unlocks the ethereal cosmic Radiant, he's given the power to radically change his fortunes. There is just one problem. The powers don't belong to him, and the cosmic beings who created them want them back by any means necessary. I didn't get most of that concept from the first issue, so it's the last 2 sentences of that synopsis were like, oh, I wish I would have read this at the beginning.
Yeah, because as far as we know, we're reading through this first issue, and he has the power. We're thinking, oh, he's alone, and then last page, oh, there's another Radiant out there, right?
Yeah.
So, so that was kind of a surprise. I really feel like they rushed this origin.
It's so like they get to the point immediately, and I don't know if it's good or bad, but it is quick.
It is very, very quick. And you talked about Batman kind of feeling rushed, but man,
yes.
I really feel like kind of this whole first story arc should have been what's covered in issue 1, like the first 5 or 6 issues. He gets his powers, learns how to use them, establishes who his bad is, and then that ends volume 1. But no, that's the end of the first issue.
So are we on issue 1? We're just talking about that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I like that it's set in Lockport, Illinois. I've been there. It's by Joliet. That caught me. The rest of it, I just about threw up reading about the sappy, poor, pitiful me, and the whole synopsis of He's working 2 jobs. What 2 jobs? He wrote 1 page of his supposed novel in 4 years, and he's an Uber driver, and I don't know if that counts, but I guess it does. I'm not trying to be too critical of the guy, but dude, I come from the wrong generation to be sympathetic to your plight. So he did not become a sympathetic character to me at all in the first issue. I just wanted to smack him. And ironically, his buddy Marshall, who was just basically Reggie Mantle from Archie Comics.
Yes.
I mean, I hated him at first. I'm like, by the time, gosh dang, I'm sorry, Scott. Shoot. I'm like, I just, I don't even, I like Reggie better, or I like Marshall better at the end of it. Yeah.
It's spoilers for an upcoming issue, and this is maybe why we don't spend a lot of time on the origin. But the guy who starts with the powers is not the guy who ends with the powers.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't want to go too.
I guess if you look at it in that perspective, then the origin story of the character we end up getting as our Radiant Black isn't rushed. It's just it feels rushed, and I like reading this on a month-to-month basis, which I did. I really liked this as you didn't see where everything was going to turn at that point, and so you were like, man, that was a really fast origin story, and then I've already got my main villain already introduced, and like it was just like it was hitting you, and then all of a sudden, like that issue 4 kind of, or 3, whatever it is, you just kind of go, and it's 4, issue 4. And you realize that you get a big wake up call to that. And that's kind of, I think, what is interesting about the story and kept me going on was like, okay, well, that wasn't expected at all. Issue 2, you want me
issue 2? Yeah.
All right.
Issue.
All right. Issue 2. Yesterday, Nathan found an alien artifact that turned him into a superhero. Today, his dad says he has to get a job, so driving for rideshare company driver it is. Oh, and there's also someone else out there robbing banks with powers like his. That's probably important.
Yeah. So, okay, one thing we didn't mention I think it was in the first issue, the cops immediately know who it is that has the powers.
Yeah.
Right. So they come knocking on his door, and it's like, oh, by the way, you're going to help us fight crime, or we're going to arrest you. Is kind of basically what it is. And Reggie, I've already forgotten the character's name. Actually rats him out.
Reggie.
Rats him out. It's like, they had us on video, blah blah blah, blah. It's like, but after reading issue 2, I guess it's actually issue 3. So I'll save that comment for later. It was issue 3.
Oh no.
Yeah. I'll save that comment.
I like the introduction of the Red Radiant. I mean, we get the first page obviously in issue 1, but issue 2 kind of gives us a little bit more of that side of it. And there are parts of this, and especially issue 3, we'll get into, where it definitely reminds you that you are reading an indie book. You're not reading a big 2 superhero book. But there's not a lot to say about issue 2, I don't think.
They fight. Radiant Black, Radiant Red, fight.
Other than that, my favorite scene was between his dad. Nathan and his dad had the breakfast conversation.
Well, because Nathan, you are the dad, so
that's right. I'm the dad, and I'm the one that's going to be, because Mom was like, "Oh, honey, we're so glad you're home. Even though you're a loser, I'm so glad to see you and stay here with us." And she's enabling his non-work ethic. And the dad's like, "No, if you're gonna live here, son, you got to get a job." That's where he gets into the driver. He did that in California or whatever. I don't know if it was this issue or not where it was revealed as much, but I think it's next issue. But the breakfast scene I liked just because I can relate to a degree. That's the dad's job. The dad doesn't have to be the one to be all touchy-feely and huggy, and it's okay, and just say, hey, you need to get your stuff together. Hey, you proud of me, Scott? I said stuff.
There you go.
But yeah, I didn't dislike that issue at all, because I thought, okay, the dad is spot on.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like we've had so many variations of the dad for like the last 20, 30 years, when you kind of almost go back to 1950s version of the dad. It feels
Yeah.
fresh because we've had so much of the buffoon, non-present, or
Mhm.
abusive dad for so many years, and you
Right.
get a more 50 years ago traditional father
Yeah.
figure.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's brand new. It's like, oh, why had nobody ever thought of this before?
All right, so issue 3. We got okay. That's it. Nathan's getting down to business today. He's finally working on his novel. All he needs is some solitary writing time. No helpful parents, no superhero social media, and definitely no alien voices beaming an unintelligible language into his brain. That's not too much to ask for, right?
Let me go first.
Okay.
This issue is torture.
No.
Uh, it was watching a guy not write.
Well, they gave us 2 pages of his writing.
Yeah, I guess okay, it would be difficult to write if you had all those things going on. You got the alien beaming communications that he couldn't understand into him, but that's not really the reason why Nathan couldn't write over the years. Really, the best scene was the flat tire scene where he helped the family, even though he didn't know how to
Yeah.
change a flat, but he's like, oh, okay, I can just lift up the whole car and take you where you need to go. So I like that a lot. So it's not all negative. It's just some of it.
and he is writing, and there at the end, the dad's checking on him in the morning, and you're supposed, I think, to feel like he actually spent the entire night
Mm-hmm.
writing, so
That was
so it
just a
does.
dream.
Oh, okay. I guess it could be like the Ernest Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea, where it's
Mhm.
like that book is so boring is to make you feel like you were on the boat with the fishermen
Right.
for the however long, and you're just like ready, you're willing to, you're glad for it to be over. We want you to feel what the fisherman felt.
I'll be on the opposite side. Issue 3 was one of my favorite issues of this, because of we're already taking a break from superhero to just have a writing issue. It felt very like we're just gonna have an issue of this separate little book that's gonna be about a writer that's struggling to write. Felt very like a Stephen King non-horror thing that he would write. It was just like here's a book about a writer who's trying to write and can't write and then gets distracted with something else. And I dug that for that side because sometimes I do consider myself a writer, though I don't have anything out there.
Well, that everything I say is not meant to be a slight to writers.
No, not at all.
I am a non-creative person, so it's easy for me to say this stuff. And you're right. Stephen King actually wrote a book called On Writing.
Yeah,
and
very
it was
good.
just like that. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't like or dislike any of the issues more or less than any of the others, except for one that I think stood out to me. So that part, I mean, I didn't think this was a bad issue. So I guess I'll just leave it at that.
All right. Issue 4.
Okay.
It was always going to come to this. Radiant Black versus Radiant Red in a knockdown drag-out fight across the city of Lockport. And believe us when we say that after this fight, nothing will ever be the same again for Lockport or for Radiant Black. And we actually mean it. So this is where we get the big reveal that our Nathan, our Radiant Black, is injured in a way that he's not going to come back from it easily. And that our main character is not going to stay our main character past this point. And what I thought was kind of a genius kind of turn of events to go, and like we kind of revealed and through that is like, oh, our origin story wasn't for Nathan's origin story as Radiant Black, and you didn't see that coming, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree, Shad. I like this was an upswing for me in storytelling, and really it deviated from the normal course of events where you think, okay, Nathan is going to be the hero, and Marshall will make probably a better hero. The I don't know what you would call that cosmic robot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the Radiant, right?
That's the Radiant. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an interesting concept, although I don't know why they put little brackets around certain phrases because it seemed inconsequential, but it was actually kind of put offish. But otherwise, I really liked issue 4. As opposed to 3, it really was like this took a big upswing, and we'll see more of that in the issues to come.
I feel like the brackets is almost like a pacing that it's trying to identify that it doesn't really come across super well. Like I could imagine if you had Kyle Higgins reading this to you, he could pace it in a way that he intended it to be, but it doesn't quite come across on the page the way that it would if it was read to you.
Gotcha.
So I took the brackets. You will often, when you're reading a quote from somebody, they will then put words inside of brackets where they either added words to the quotation to show who they're referencing for, or to make it clearer to the reader of the article what is being said. So how I took that is something that was being added to the conversation to make it clear for the reader what was going on, but we may find down the road that how we initially interpreted that phrase is not exactly what was meant, when it was spoken at the time. So that's kind of how I am interpreting that at this point. So,
okay.
But that's just me, and I'm probably wrong.
I like it. All right. Issue 5.
Yep.
We've got, so Radiant Red is still out there. He needs to be stopped before anyone else gets hurt. But after the events of last issue left Lockport and the world reeling, is Radiant Black up to the task, and will he be in this fight alone? We get obviously our new Marshall Radiant Black confronting Radiant Red again. They go head to head, and then at the end of it, as they're kind of coming to blows, it's revealed that Radiant Red is a female, and then we get a little the Radiant Yellow and Radiant Pink, and now we start feeling like we're Power Ranger in it a little bit. Come and say, like, kind of, what are you guys fighting for? There's something bigger that's gonna happen, and it is revealed that the real bad guy is this other thing. I don't know if it has it been given a name.
I don't.
No, I don't think it's been given a name.
Yeah, I don't either.
Did you get into issue 6 with that, or is that just 5?
That's just
issue 5. Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think Marshall makes a much better Radiant Black. He's just more aggressive and more.
He is much more aggressive. Seems like he's got something to prove, whereas Nathan is a little bit still woe is me, and I don't know what I'm going to do with my life.
Right.
Well,
right.
And Nathan was, and again, I'm calling it the Radiant, though that may not be correct, asked if he was willing to kill. Nathan was not, but after what happened to Nathan, Marshall is willing to kill. So so they're kind of showing a little distinction between the two characters, and I'm going to assume, not having read anything past these 6 issues, but we got to assume that Nathan's going to come back at some point.
Oh, I'm sure.
And there's going to be this play between their takes on the character.
Little spoiler, not at least by issue 10 or 11.
Okay, all right. Well,
I had read that far and still no Nathan in that.
Okay.
Yeah, and now I know why I was thinking issue 5 was issue 6, is because issue 6 was so different.
Yeah,
it was like they should have made this a 5-issue trade and started volume 2 with issue 6, or maybe 6. Maybe the way they did it was good because it has a good hook.
Yeah, it does have a good hook.
So go ahead and talk about issue 6.
Yeah, issue 6 is really is our origin story for Radiant Red. Is really all the synopsis says, but we learn that Radiant Red is in a relationship with a gambling addict who has done a lot of damage to their financial situation, And so she is one night trying to figure out how to make it all work. And we see all 4 of the radiant little orbs or whatever disperse, and the red one kind of lands to her. Like she doesn't seek it out like we see Nathan with the black one. And then she kind of figures out the powers a lot quicker than Nathan does, and realizes that she can solve the problem of their debt issue by robbing banks. Just as a quick, the only issue I had kind of with this is that the way that she's drawn in issue 6, sometimes she looks very small. She looks almost child-sized, and maybe she's just a short person. But I got confused the first time I read this, and I was like, is Radiant Red a child or an adult? I'm not sure.
She's just a very
adult,
petite.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah, she's a very petite Asian girl. And it seemed like a different artist. Is that the case?
Yeah, it did definitely seem like a different artist.
Yeah, it was a big shift in tone, visually at least. And where we had Nathan as sort of the lovable loser in the first few issues, you have Owen, who's a not so lovable loser. In fact, by the end of that issue, I was just like, I wish she would just punch him instead of enabling him. She was way more forgiving than anybody. I guarantee my wife wouldn't let me just clean out our bank accounts to go play poker and still be around. But it was a good story. It was a realistic account of what what happens in real life. It's just these things happen. Yeah.
This was my favorite issue of the 6.
Mm-hmm.
I am much more interested in Radiant Red's story than I am in Radiant Black's story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If this had been the first issue, I think I would have, if I thought that this was the character this storyline was going to focus on, I think I would have been more interested in the story than I am Radiant Black's story.
Right.
I would have liked to have seen Radiant Red's story be the 5 issues. They give us the Radiant Black quick origin like we got in issue 1. Here as the 6th story, they get together and it could even just be told from the other side, told from her perspective and told from Red's perspective instead of Black's perspective. But this was my favorite. But it's not enough to make me want to keep reading.
Well, and you saying that's interesting because I wonder if that's how a lot of people felt and why they did a 5-issue Radiant Red miniseries.
Maybe
after this,
right.
It's like this is a really good character,
sense,
super flushed out. Like there's a lot more like from even just this one issue. There's a lot more meat to the origin and the backstory that you want to keep reading.
Oh, she's a much more sympathetic character. I mean, she's the one that's working hard, and it's her boyfriend that puts her in a bad position to make her do what she did.
Right.
And I can relate to, people doing stuff like that where they are, not that I know any bank robbers. I'm just saying sometimes you make things
you
worse.
You work in a prison system. You know lots of.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, but I've never.
Maybe not personally, intimately.
Right.
But
right. But I'm with Scott on. In my summary judgment here is that as much as I like the last from 4 through 6, it just kept getting better, and 6 really hit the sweet spot. I don't know that I would come back and watch. I'm just part of it's I'm just biased against that whole Power Rangers look. I'm just like, that just seems so.
It is off-putting.
Yeah, if I didn't even know there was such a thing as the Power Rangers, I might even like it, but. Something about that throws me off a bit. I don't know. I've never even read Invincible, which they were comparing it to that as well. But yeah,
I think Invincible is better written, personally.
Who wrote that?
That
Kirkman.
Was Kirkman. Yeah,
Robert Kirkman. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's it flows like butter. That's like he writes so smooth, and Invincible is just so well written, for sure. So. I like Higgins' writing though. I've been a
he's good. Yeah.
fan for a long time. I don't know why, but I'm buying everything involved in this world, and I don't even love it. Like I don't. There's something about it that makes me keep showing up every month. At least
just enough,
Yeah, it's just enough to be like, it's good. I think it's the like this is a world. It's the like whoever hopped onto Black Hammer because it was contained and you could get on ground zero with it. For me, this is my like I can get on ground zero and I own every issue of everything that's ever existed. And I think that part is exciting for me personally, knowing that I've never been able to do that with anything else because it's always been like you pick up Batman at issue 125, you know, and there's 60, 70, 80 years of history to everything else where it's like I know everything about this, but it is superheroes. I think that's why I'm still picking up Rogue Sun and Inferno Girl Red and everything that's kind of tied to it.
Well, I graded this a fine minus, so 5.5. So remember my scale. You know, 8+ is something I want to own and have in my collection. 6.8, I have zero regrets about reading it. It's almost there at that 6.0 range. I'm not going to be quick to recommend this story to somebody else. I'm not necessarily even going to continue reading this into the second volume. Maybe if I start hearing really, really good things about this. I think that my perception of this story might have been more negative because I heard a lot of hype about this book. So I guess maybe I was expecting too much out of it. I think that maybe steered me down. But I'm at a fine minus on this story.
Yeah, what you said there, maybe that's the reason I was less enthused about it, because I was hearing the same kind of rave reviews, and even researching them, you know, you're looking for different things and they're like, wow, everybody's loving this thing, but I just didn't. So I'm going to give it a 5.0. Very good. Fine. It's right at the middle mark. Average book. It might be a little bit unfair, but I think it's the bias of being overhyped. And it might get better. It might get better. And if I were to grade the first 3 issues, it would be probably a 3, and the top 3 issues would be more like a 7. But that's where it averages out.
All right, Shad, bring it up here.
All right, I'm gonna bring it up, but not a lot. I mean, like I said, I like it. I'm into it, but I'm not super into it. So I give it an 8.0. Very fine. Like it's something that I keep going on, but I really don't love it even in the future issues where all 4 of them together, because it does feel like a team up Power Rangers book. But when they split off and they become their own things, that's where I think the book shines a little bit more on that side.
All right. Well, let's CLC shake it and then get out of this episode here. I'll go ahead and go first. Let's see if I can get it where I can see what's going on. And hey, it's not ROM, it's Micronauts. Okay, another big surprise. This is actually not a Marvel issue of Micronauts. This is from Devil's Due Publishing. So they had the license for Micronauts. If my memory is correct, I think it went Marvel, then to Image, then to Devil's Due. And it does have Patrick Broderick as the penciler, so he's got some serious art chops. And they're using for the
Firestorm.
They're using for the most part the same characters, but when I read this, it did not capture me like the original Marvel Micronauts, and it's really kind of just in my collection because it has Micronauts in the title. And it's actually something that, and some of the non-Marvel ROM comics, are something that I have thought about weeding out of my collection of books. So if we were to do this again in a year, it may not be even in the list of books that I have in my collection. So, all right, you guys.
Go ahead, Shad.
All right. Oh, I got to shake. There we go. Oh, it's Star Wars: A New Hope. This is the trade of the special edition trade that came out in '97 of issues 1 through 4. This is just the retelling of Star Wars: The A New Hope, the first movie, episode 4. This was probably one of my first comic book series. Was the issues 1 through 4 singly by themselves. In a 4-pack from Walmart, if I remember right. And then the trades, I have all of those as well. I've probably got like 5 different versions of the Star Wars movie adaptations because I dig the movie adaptations of those.
All right, Mike, you got to unmute before we can hear you what you're saying. So,
I wasn't talking. I just was moving my mouth.
Just moving your lips. You're probably, saying more curse words than I'm about to edit out. So,
Thankfully not. I was just saying that I wish I knew more of the Star Wars lore like what you guys knew. I didn't really watch. I only besides episode 3, I didn't watch any of them until episode 4. I'm sorry.
4, yeah.
4, yeah.
Which wasn't even episode 4 to start with.
That's right.
Yeah, right. It was just
Or A New Hope.
Star Wars.
It was
wasn't
A
A
New
New
Hope.
Hope. Wasn't episode 4.
So I didn't. So when I hear you guys talk about it, I'm like, I really feel inadequate because I'm like, dude, you lost your geek card because you can't talk to Star Wars. I really love Mandalorian, but other than that, I don't know how to connect all that stuff. All right. Shake, shake, shake.
Probably get a Justice League book.
No.
Oh, okay.
Booster Gold.
Oh, he's Justice League.
No, this is the volume. This is volume 2, Booster Gold number 1. It was released in 2007. It's the one that was, well, I thought it was Jeff Johns, but it's not. It's Jeff Katz is the writer, Dan Jurgens on art, and basically the plot was Rip Hunter in his efforts to save the multiverse. Booster. That's at the end of the 52. Booster Gold. No. What the heck? That doesn't make sense because this came out in 2007.
Yeah.
Anyway, somebody wrote this without much information. So anyway, it's Booster Gold. It's not the OG Booster Gold. It is the same character, but it's probably 20 years later. I don't know that I've even read this.
Well, we're getting that too much where it's like, yeah, this is in my collection, but I haven't read it. So
you're right, yeah.
Yeah, we're getting a little guilty of that, but oh well. It's my fault for having too high of a percentage of 3 or 4 titles in my collection. So, all right. So, Mike, somebody wanted to reach out to you and tell you how great that Booster Gold story is. Where would they send you the correct synopsis for that story to?
I would welcome it. It's m.atchison, ATCHISON 90@gmail.com.
All right, Shad, what about you?
You can find me on Facebook. That's at Shad Schubert, SHAAD SCHUBERT. And don't forget to check out the Can't Get Right. It's my band.
All right, and I'm Scott Reed. You can find me at burgcomics.com, BURGcomics.com. Hopefully I'll have this episode out before September 3rd, which is when Berg Comics Con 2022 will be happening. So if you are listening to this and happen to be within a driving distance of Southern Illinois, I hope you can make it there. And let's see. So, Shad, what will be episode 140? 140,
previews. Yeah. We'll be doing the previews in September that will ship in November, ideally.
All right, great. So we look forward to getting back to you for our previews catalog episode. And we are out.
Such problems. Yeah. No. Here's something new. I picked up. I've got a. Oh, that's a new. Is that a reprint of it? Yeah, that's the graphite edition. So yeah, it just has pencils. It is all Kirby pencils. Is all that is in this. So yeah, and they did one for Silver Star as well. And so it just reprints. It's kind of like a very small version of those IDW, artist editions. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's just cool. Yeah, it's just so much Kirby stuff is just so much better to look at when it's just his pencils, because I just don't think anybody could ink him. I don't think he could even ink himself. They all just look wrong. You're right though. When you look, I've got that very issue. I've got issues 1 and 2 of Captain Victory, and it doesn't look nearly that. I know Royer was his go-to inker, like Royer. But you're right. Looking at that, even through the computer screen, is amazing. Mm-hmm. Huh. Where'd you pick that up at? I had to get off eBay. Okay. So I learned about it. So I just had a regular eBay search where it's just searching for graphite editions, because there's also a Silver Star, which actually had all 7 issues of that series in a format like this, which I bought that when it came out new. And then I learned that there was a Captain Victory version, so I've got to search for it, and I just bought it, and I'm sure I overpaid for it, but it was worth it. So I think I paid $2 for that. So that's cool. Yeah. So it was the Silver Star one though, the cheapest. When I see them come across, they're $125, $30. Oh, wow. Yeah. So I was gonna buy some just to try to resell, just to convince people they needed to see Kirby's original pencils, and then it's oh yeah, I'm not gonna be able to flip that easily. So like the one thing $10, sell it for $20, and whatever. So so yeah, okay.